Right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the end of January. And I have to say, for me, I am very looking forward to the end of January. The weather has been shocking, and it's been very soul destroying in the north of Scotland. For those of you that haven't met me, I'm Jenny Milne. I'm the founder of SRITC, and today is a very special cafe. This is our 50th dedicated cafe. We have done some hybrid cafes for the Scottish Rural and Island Parliament and for our gathering that took place, but this is our 50th cafe, and we started just before the pandemic in 2020, and I'll come back to that in a moment. So we have some of the wider team joining us this morning, which I will show. Usually you see them as a photograph on the screen, but you will get to see them with their videos, and they'll say a quick hi and a wave and things. So there is a cake. For those of you not familiar with me, I am known as the cake lady by many people and have been for decades. And it's a cafe. So you usually have cake or coffee or an orange or walnut cake or whatever. So Renee, I always pick on people, and Renee has been one of the people that has been with us the longest for SRITC Cafe. So I'm going to ask her what she's got today with her.
I've got some homemade granola today with cranberries and seeds and hazelnuts. I'm not going to do it because it's not very photogenic.
No, but it sounds very healthy for a Friday. I think Friday's usually takeaway night, is it not, for people and a few drinks?
It does have honey in it, so
I'll let you off on that one. Anybody else got anything with them, whether it's a cup of tea? I see Helen's got a cup of tea there. Yep, cheers. I've got my cup of tea here as well. Anybody else got anything? Yeah, cups of teas. That's all right. We'll do. Oh, yeah, Anne's got an apple. That's healthy. That's not the mid-morning snack. Well, I will be having some coffee once I've had some cake. Sorry, once I've had some more medication. So just for today, just keep yourselves muted just now. We will obviously let you have a chat shortly. As I say, it's all about cake, so we've got to think positively. The cake that you see on the left-hand side of the picture was actually one professionally done for the gathering. The chat box is your friend. So on the right-hand side, just introduce yourself. And if you could just give the beginning of your postcode, please. It just sort of helps give us an idea of where you're located. Or for Sasha and Martin, who are in Germany, just say howdy from Germany. And it's also a great opportunity to share ideas in that chat box. So please use it as your friend. So don't look on the right-hand side of the page at the moment. I just wanted to share, because we've got some newbies here today, what we are all about. As I say, this is our 50th online cafe. But believe it or not, in 2017, when I came up with the idea of SRITC, it was about pulling together the right people in rural and island areas, whether that was a policymaker, transport provider, transport practitioner, community group, or plain and simple users, because it's all about users, and that's what we're about, making life better. So when I was thinking about the 50th cafe, it actually took me back to where this all originated from. And it made me realize my son was actually 7 at the time. And fast forward to where we are now, and we're in the thick of exams, and we're in the thick of being a strong 16-year-old teenager as of Friday next week. So for those of you that have known me a long time, that might make you feel a bit older as well, knowing that this little ginger boy is a lot bigger. And I think it's sometimes really good to reflect on where you've come from. So I'll share some slides shortly from what we did in started in 2020. As I say, when you start to reflect back, I look at it and we have a lot of really strong core values. And that's why there's so many people of you here today that have been at many of the cafes. I give you a challenge to actually go and look at how many cafes you have attended, because it's probably more than you think. And from those cafes, I know a lot of people get a lot of support from them. I also know that they learn a lot, whether it's something new or whether it's something to just endorse what they're doing is right. And we do talk about innovation, but we keep it simple because we don't need to be doing blue sky thinking to make change happen. And we are a really big community. And the cake I shared at the beginning there was done by my son this morning very quickly before he went to school, because I didn't have the energy to do it. So we have that community vibe and that community feeling. Now, what I'm showing you here on the right-hand side is who is involved behind the scenes of SRITC. So Alex, would you like to unmute yourself? Ali, would you like to unmute yourself and just say hi and a wave to the community, please? Because it's nice to have a full complement of the directors here.
Hello. Morning. How are you doing?
So hopefully you can see Ali and Alex. These are the people who work behind the scenes with me as directors. And then from the advisory board, I know we've definitely got Jamie and Sharon and Sasha. So you can unmute yourselves and wave and say hello.
Morning.
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 And is there anybody else here? Because I can't see the photos at the moment of cameras. Anybody else here from my advisory board? We've got Jim, who I know is currently sadly in hospital, Rabina, Michael, Fiona, and Artemis there. And then we have, I don't know if Sheila's joined us. She was hoping to join us. Sheila from Arran, Doug up in Nairn, and James, who is south of the border. And I say James south of the border because there's a photograph taken this morning. James and Matt, who is also one of our helpers and part of the SRITC team, who they are both down at a conference down south at the moment. And they sent me this morning. And last but not by the means least, we have Nikki, who is here, who is part of the SRITC team. Nikki?
Hello.
You there? Yep.
Yes,
And
hi.
Fab, I can't see you. And I'm wondering if Abby is here. Is Abby here? Maybe not. I can't see her. And Abby is also part of the team. So it's lovely to have everybody here this morning to actually be able to...
Are you here?
Yay! Morning. Thank you. To share in this experience of a 50th Café. So thank you very much, everybody. So that gives you a warm, cuddly feeling, I hope, of what SRITC is about online. Now, just before I hand over to our delightful speakers for today, I just want to share some news from us. And there's one gentleman here that might actually recognise this photograph. Campbell, this is you taken at the SRITC gathering with a croissant and a mug. So you're going to feature all this year on this slide. So it's lovely to have you here with us.
Happy days. I wondered why I was turning up today.
Well, there you go. So we do have the normal list of cafes that are happening between now and the end of April, and the team will put those in the chat so you can come and join us. Next month is going to be about tourism and transportation. So we've also got a focus group on that, which is meeting next week. We are also working a lot on a project for the Foundation of Integrated Transport based on water transport, which has a very strong ferry theme to it. And this is UK-wide. And I thank everybody that's been taking part in the round tables, providing information. Alex will put in the chat the exec summary that's out. I think it's exec summary at the moment that's out for your feedback and your comments. But if you feel passionately about any form of water transport, please put something in the chat and we will reach out to you. This project is nearing an end, but it's not too late to input into it. And there will be a final roundtable in May. And we have ferry operators from up and down the country. We have policymakers, we have users. It's a really, really strong roundtable that will continue well after the funding finishes. And on that note, we also have different focus groups, as I've mentioned before. We've got the tourism one taking place on Monday, and some of those delightful people that are part of that and volunteering their time will be presenting in February. But there's a lot going on with the visitor economy at the moment, and much of it is underpinned by transport. Finally, there's, if you haven't seen it, it was in the news bulletin, there's been a few reports come out, Consumer Scotland on disability, access and transport and pieces. So if you haven't seen it, again, the team will put it into the chat. But there's various consultations that have been out that we have been inputting into on behalf of the SRITC community. So there's a lot going on for a small team and our large support of volunteers, which none of this could happen without. So I'm very, very grateful. So how did these volunteers end up all being? What happened in 2020? You'll be glad to hear I did not go and look to see what jumper I was wearing in 2020 for my first ever cafe, because I sadly haven't grown very much in height, but probably have in width, and it may or may not have fitted me. But I looked back, and obviously one of the reasons Renee has joined us is because the second cafe, which was our first one about place-based, Renee and her colleague Valerie joined us from Midlands Connect. So I thought it would be really apt to go back full circle and see what Midlands Connect have been up to since we started on 1 and we're now at 50. Some of you may remember Dwight. He used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning from America, upstate New York, to come and tell us all about what was going on there. Wearing my part-time PhD hat, one of the big things for me was actually getting to meet Dwight just over 18 months ago. He's now retired, but he's very much still in the background. And I think it's really key that in our first place-based, we had somebody from America. And we also looked at what was going on an island in Orkney. And we also, for the first cafe, he had two faces here. One is Andrew, who talks about healthcare and transport. And funnily enough, we've got a focus group on healthcare and transport, so the theme's still really strong. And the second one was Ant talking about this phenomenon that was starting called demand response transport. And look where that story's gone over the last 5 years, nearly 6 years. So I just wanted to give you a flavour of where we've been in 2020. And since then, as you know, pretty much every Friday, aside from Christmas Day and the summer holidays, you'll find us on Zoom here. So what themes have we been looking at? It's been very much place-based and sharing places, whether it is internationally, regionally, or locally, whether it's a community, whether it's a strategic partner, whether it's an international organization. We've had the International Transport Forum. We've had lots going on. We've also looked at a lot of modes, and there are too many to list. But one observation that we made as a big team of SRITC people is that we haven't actually really talked about roads that often. Now in Scotland, we do have various campaigners for key routes like the A9 and the A96. But roads isn't something that we often talk about and doesn't, in fact, come up in cafes. So it might be an interesting one to venture down. But we have looked at so many different types of modes, whether it's drones or whether it's, mind blank, the big balloons that will be carrying people and freight, overlanders. I can't remember the name of them, but it's not Outlander, that's for sure. I can tell you it's not an Outlander, but we've had the fun ones, and we've had the ones that we all use on a day-by-day basis. Different stakeholders. All of us are from a different perspective, which is why SRITC has been such a success and bringing people together, because we need that. We need that chat. We need to be able to support one another. And there's just too many of us to name. But as I say, we have shared a lot of learnings in those 50 cafes. And I know from many of you that these cafes help with issues of isolation. And to be truthful, I went to the water round table last week because having had all the snow, all the rain, and being ill, I needed to see people. And whether that was online or in person, it didn't matter to me. I needed to see people. So the same applies today. So that isolation issue really is an important one, along with that community vibe and feel. And one of my 2026 resolutions, hopefully will happen, brings me on to today's speakers. Rennie and I have never actually met in person. We have been online so many times, but we've never met in person. So I'm hoping Rennie and I will meet somewhere, somehow, by the powers of B in 2026. So Rennie will kick things off and give you an overview of what's happened since 2020 when she first came online. And I can tell you, she's not any grayer, but she does have family, and she still likes to bring cakes, coffee, or croissants or breads to cafes. So that's really key. She'll then hand over to Peter, who is a regular cafe goer and always sends me an email if he's not going to manage and saying that he has to go and help drive a bus. So you'll hear from Peter and Golspie. And then last but by no means least, our young person. I think Mairi might be our second young person we've managed to persuade to speak in 50 cafes. So I'm going to hand over now to Rennie, who is going to kick things off. And then once she's done, she'll pass to Peter, and then Peter will pass to Mairi so that I can have 20 minutes to regroup. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining today, but also to our speakers for inputting into what's going to be a dynamic cafe. Rennie.
I lost my my unmute button. Hello. Yes, it's Renee. I first came to a cafe in 2020 when I hadn't long started my job at Midlands Connect. So it's quite apt that I'm now here, having started my next role. And unfortunately, I won't be doing anything much with rural for the time being, which is a shame because I now work for a combined authority. But hey ho. Jenny asked for a map, so here it is. This is England. And in the middle, the yellow bit is the Midlands. And so this is the region that Midlands Connect covers. It's a subnational transport body. And that basically means we're a partnership of local authorities and Highways England and National Rail, Network Rail, those kind of people across the Midlands. And we look mostly at strategic connectivity between the cities. So, obviously everyone knows Birmingham, Coventry, Nottingham, Leicester, all those big places. But actually in the Midlands, we also have some coastline. We have the Lincolnshire coast. We have a national park, which is one of the most visited national parks. And as you can see behind me, this is the Shropshire Hills. We used to be an AONB, an area of outstanding natural beauty. I think it's called a national landscape now. But yeah. So I live in a small market town, but I feel like a bit of a fraud because 15 minutes of the road is Telford, which is one of the new towns in England, which is as cheerful as you can imagine it to be when the city centre is a town centre is a shopping centre. But there we are. So yes, I live in Shropshire and I've been working on rural mobility for almost 6 years. Unfortunately, due to changes in funding and Midlands Connect, from the Department for Transport, I've had to move on to a different role. But I will be back, I'm sure, into rural mobility. It will always be an interest of mine. So there we are. Midlands Connect, we like to focus on they now, it's not we anymore. They like to focus on strategic transport connectivity, but also sharing knowledge and information and best practice, that sort of thing between the partners. And that's something that is really valued, especially by the rural authorities that usually get left behind. We started looking at rural mobility in 2019 before I started. Let me get on to the next slide. There we are. This is everything we've done in the last 5 years. So I have a lot of words to cover with this slide. And I have notes because I don't have a working memory. Yes, we started with the Future of Rural Mobility study. And this is the first thing I presented on with my colleague Valerie in 2020. So we commissioned the University of Lincoln to look at what is actually the problem with rural mobility. What are the issues? What are the sorry, it's just seen pop up. Where am I? England. Yes, we wanted to know what the rural issues were, not just for people but also for businesses, and what needs weren't really being covered, and then exploring future mobility solutions. And developing a rural mobility toolkit. So the toolkit is the screenshot. Oh, it's a really poor quality screenshot, but on the top left that you can see here. And we found issues such as, kids not going to college because they can get there by bus, but they can't get home. And things like 1 in 10, I think 11% of respondents to our survey in rural communities had missed or delayed medical treatment due to a lack of transport. So lots of things to consider, and it's the first kind of study that we did that really sort of kickstart our program. Now, one of the recommendations or suggested future mobility solutions was rural hubs, and so we started looking at that next in 2020, 2021, and we say rural hubs, not mobility hubs, on purpose, because we wanted to look at the role of local places that can do three things, really. We wanted to enable the local community to get to where the places they needed to go, but also to bring services into the local community and even reduce the need to travel by offering things like digital solutions, online consult, shared working places, that sort of thing. So we looked at, what kind of things go into developing a hub. How do you sort of determine what needs to be done in which area, and how you go about actually developing that and doing a feasibility study for it. So that was quite a comprehensive guide that we wrote. We then gave a little bit of funding to two of our local authorities to try that out, Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire. And Derbyshire has actually then proceeded to put the concept of rural hubs in their BSIP, so their bus service improvement plans that they got funding for after that. So that was one thing. One of the feedbacks that we did get was that the guidance was probably a bit too comprehensive, and so we started writing a more abridged version of it as well. Then after that, we thought we kind of ran out of ideas, so we decided to send out a call for ideas on a page and do a rural mobility competition. So we asked industry, particularly small businesses, for ideas on a page, like an A4 sort of submission, and then gave 3 ideas, a small bit of seed funding, and matched them up with a local authority in our partnership, and then to develop that idea a bit further. And then finally we had a Dragon's Den style panel that chose a winner, and that was Derbyshire with, I believe it was Cenex. They developed a pilot for online, mobility hubs, I think they were called. So let me just scroll down. So yeah, they developed Buxton moving together and Hope Valley moving together. So those are 2 communities in the Peak District National Park, where, as you can imagine, car dependency is an issue. And they were working with a local community groups to sort of engage the local community and try and get people on board with some rural mobility solutions. So we had on the platform, we had peer-to-peer car sharing, peer-to-peer EV charge point sharing, so you could rent out your EV charge point on your drive, and also lift sharing was on that. And then there was signposting to like the county council's pages as well. So that ran in 23-24. And then finally, the last project I did for rural mobility was looking into the role of public transport and the rural visitor economy. So that obviously was a really interesting project for me, and obviously for the people involved, not just me. So yes, we looked at 4 case study areas. So Staffordshire Moorlands, which has a very large theme park, Alton Towers in it. We looked at the Peak District National Park, which is pictured here. I believe this is Mamtor, if I'm not mistaken. It's a very popular walking area. We also looked at Lincolnshire Coast, so Skegness, Margate, not Margate. Oh. Brain fog. Anyway, we looked at Lincolnshire Coast and the mobility there. And then finally, small town of Stratford-on-Avon, also known as Shakespeare's birthplace. We just picked 4 quite different places where visitor economy was a large, portion of the local GDP. And also, we just wanted a spread of different kind of places, so we'd get learnings for different kind of areas. So it aimed to reduce negative impacts of car use, obviously improve accessibility for people who don't drive, so kind of creating increase in the size of the market that local visitor economy could tap into. And then finally, supporting the visitor economy by improving access for staff and the supply chain as well. And it developed 9 principles for good practice for sustainable transport and supporting the visitor economy, and then developed some packages of interventions for each of the case study areas as well. What was really interesting with this project is that we brought together, we had a couple of workshops for each area, and we brought together the transport operators, the local authority, but also the visitor economy, the the destination management organisations, or LVEPs, the local visitor economy partnerships, as they're called these days. So it was really nice to bring those kind of quite different kind of crowds together and get them talking and sort of get their views on what the issues are and what can be done to improve that. So that's all I had for you.
Rennie, what I
Just
wanted to say to everybody was that the three presenters are giving a flavour of what they've been working on, and then we're going to have a bit of a conversation, and then we'll hand over for Q&A, which is why we're a bit longer than an hour today. So please do hold on. So Rennie has been up to a lot in the last 5 years, as you can tell.
It's 5 years though. So.
Yeah. So there'll be a lot to pick up on. So please do put questions in the chat, or hold on to them and ask it at the end. Right, I'm going to hand over to Peter. Now, SRITC always has a way of upskilling people, and this has happened on a number of occasions, and this is Peter's first time of sharing a presentation. So, Peter, do you want to give it a go? And if it doesn't work, I'll step in.
Fingers crossed it doesn't go wrong.
No pressure. There is no pressure. Way.
Almost.
Right, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry, back one. Okay, my name's Peter Allan. I'm with Go Golspie Development Trust, and it's mainly the transport that I do there. I've been doing this for just coming up for 6 years now. The Development Trust, it was 2015, it was we started, and I joined in 2018 as a volunteer driver, and then 2020 I was the first staff member doing 7 hours a week. So we currently have 6 board members and 7 staff, although we are just in the process of recruiting 2 more part-time staff here, one for to assist with funding and finance, and the other is a development officer for one of the buildings that we have. So moving on, we have the 2 community buildings here. They're quite close together, roughly about half a mile apart. There's the Funkin Road Hall, which is it used to be a church, and it's used for lots of events, weddings, funerals, dances, all these sort of things. The second building we have, the old YMCA building, which is where I am at the moment. That's where our office is, and at the front hall is used for lots of different events, fitness classes, dance classes. We're in the middle where the office is, and in the rear is the youth club and community space. We are directly on the North Coast 500 route, roughly about an hour and a half from the very north coast of Scotland. And our office is directly across the road from Jenny's favourite chip shop. So we have the 2 community vehicles at the moment, which we got new ones last year, which you'll see in the next slide, with the 117-seat community bus. It's just used by community groups, school groups. It's become very busy in the last few months. And the new car we also got last year, which is an electric Skoda Elrock. That's the mid-range car, and it's used purely for medical purposes, taking people back and forth to medical appointments. So it says here's the minibus and the car you see on the right side. That's the original minibus. We had a 68 plate. We had that for 6 years, and the first car we had was the electric Vauxhall Corsa. It's been a good car. We had that for almost 5 years, but it was just a little bit small and low. It's generally elderly people would take back and forth. It wasn't the best to get them in and out of, and the range wasn't the best on it either. And so in the next slides we go a number of different places that we generally go to. For the minibus, we have 24 volunteer drivers, but problems there, in generally only about 6 or 7 of them are regular drivers for us. And since we got the new car, we're having to fight the drivers off because they all love the new car. So it's a good thing. And we're 14 on the list for the car. So we got the new minibus in June last year, and I said it's used for community groups, schools, and we had an anonymous donation which bought us the number plate you can see on the minibus there, KW10 for the area postcode. And then we got the electric Corsa that was replaced by the new Skoda Elrock, which is the mid-range, the 60 battery, but it'll do about current for 250 miles in the summer, and we're getting 190 to 200 miles in the cold. We're averaging between sort of -1 up to 3 degrees, so that's quite a good range for that. And it's a much bigger car and much better for people to get in and out of as well. So some of the places we go, you'll see where we are there and marked on the map right in the middle. We're about just an hour and 10 minutes north from Inverness and about an hour and a half south of the very north coast. Up there's the places that we go then. Dingwall Ross Memorial Hospital. There's quite a few small hospitals here. Don't go too terribly often to Dingwall. It's 41 miles each way. And then Caithness General, it's becoming more popular. It's the main hospital in Inverness. It seems to get busier, so a lot of the surgeries are going up to Caithness, so we take people up there quite a lot. And that is 52 miles each way. And the new National Treatment Centre in Inverness, they just opened up about 2 years ago. This has become very, very busy in the last 6 months. We, at the moment, since October onwards, we've been going there 3-4 times a week. And that's 52 miles each way as well. Again, everything by volunteer drivers. New Craig's Hospital, Inverness, it's another 53-mile trip, but it's generally taking people to visit people that are inpatients there. It's been quite busy too. And then the main hospital, which is Regmore Hospital, Inverness, I believe it's at capacity at the moment, and they're trying to slow things down a wee bit. But we go there quite a lot too, sometimes 2-3 times a week. We can go in Inverness twice a day sometimes. So all very good, done by volunteer drivers. And then moving on, you can see some of the journeys we do there. Caithness, one local trips. We do a lot of local appointments, the doctor, dentist, chemist, food care. We have maintenance checks. Inverness is the main thing, the National Treatment Centre, and to Regmore Hospital. And then the minibus, it's similar sort of trips. Again, just because it was very busy over sort of Christmas period, pantomime trips, Christmas nights out, things like that. It's kept us very busy. All done well with it. The volunteer drivers. The other things we have is we've got a new electric charger fit here at the building. We've had a few problems. A lot of people don't, I think, fully understand the electric cars and how they work. And some of the building users don't like us having the car here. They think it's a fire hazard. And the other problem we've got is with the public charging. We're going there, the changeover from Charge Place Scotland to ESO. It's not been a very smooth transition, unfortunately. So we've had quite a lot of difficulty there, a lot of failed attempts at charging. And on phoning up to the helplines, we're not getting very far, unfortunately, with them. So obviously they're new. They've come in from Ireland to Scotland. Hopefully it will improve, but it's not the best at the moment, which doesn't help if we're stuck in Inverness with some vulnerable passengers. So that's about it for me. So if there's any questions, you can give me a shout at just now or at the end.
We'll do it at the end, and well done, Peter, for putting a presentation together. I'll let out the bag, shall I, Peter, that I asked you back in September to do this presentation, and I think you had it in my inbox by, was it the end of October or something to put it together? So
I was going to be honest, Jenny, and say you didn't ask me that constantly for months.
and he remembers my favourite fish and chip shop as well. So I will be there in the summer, Peter. I will see you.
It'll be good to see you again.
Yeah. I'm going to move on to Mairi, and I'm actually going to try and share her slides as her Wi-Fi has not been great this morning. So welcome, Mairi, and I am hoping that you can see your slides.
Yes, okay, thank you. So I'm Mairi, and I'm the member of the Scottish Youth Parliament for Angus North Mearns, and I also chair the Midlands Youth Forum, which is an organisation of young people living in the Mearns. I'm going to talk a wee bit about transport issues that affect young people in the Mearns, but also in the wider northeast of Scotland, and what myself and the Midlands Youth Forum have been doing about this. As we've got quite a few people from outside of Scotland, I thought I'd talk a wee bit about the free bus pass scheme that we have in Scotland first. I think it was passed in 2022, and it was actually a Scottish Youth Parliament campaign, and it has essentially created a national entitlement card that young people can use to access free bus pass or free bus transport in Scotland. And as you can see here, as of December last year, over 267 million free bus journeys have been taken by children and young people in Scotland. So the scheme hasn't been a failure whatsoever, but it's not accessible to all young people, and that's what I'm going to talk a wee bit about. So as you can see here, this is a map of Scotland, obviously, and I have drawn, not very well in the purple line, I've drawn the A90, which is the road connecting most of the northeast coast of Scotland, and the wee arrow that I put here is Lawrence Kirk, And Laurencekirk is the village that I'm going to reference the most because it's the biggest village in the Mearns. It's the one with a train station, and it's the one that is right beside the A90. It's also where I live. Buses do regularly travel up and down from Aberdeen and Dundee, and go further south into the Central Belt. And they do pick people up on the way, places like Portlethen and Beacon, but none stop in or very near the Mearns except from Atfordden. And this is an issue for young people. It can leave them quite isolated, especially when you take into account the cost of train transport, if people can get access to a train. But I think the current price of a train ticket from Laurencekirk to Aberdeen is £17 for one return journey, especially when you take into account that it's only £7 from Stonehaven, which is only one stop up the line. Seems quite staggering. Get the next slide. Thank you. So it is obviously a really challenging situation for young people who live in this area. We've got people here saying, I used to get multiple buses into Aberdeen every day, but they were always late and I was nearly fired. So now I have to pay for the train. I wait an hour every morning and night at the side of the A90 to get to and from college by bus. In the winter it's dark and the underpass floods, and that there's not much point in having a bus pass if you can't use it. So this does really just show the gap in public transport that we have in the Mearns. And along with the Midlands Youth Forum, we've been looking at solutions to this. So myself and Emily, who's one of the members, we went to the Aberdeenshire Council Bus Forum last month to raise our concerns with councillors and the local bus companies. And there is one bus company in particular that we are focused on. And at the meeting, they actually did express to us that they would like to run their service through the Mearns. They would like to stop there, but that there is no real place for them to stop. There's no laybys southbound, and that there's no way that they can take the bus into the village because the central reservation of the dual carriageway is too small and they can't actually turn the bus. Yeah, we've been looking at the current underpasses under the A90 to see whether a bus could stop, safely stop on the other side. We've also been creating a campaign video to state our safety concerns, what public transport actually looks like in this area for everybody, but especially for young people. And we are continuing to campaign for an overpass over the A90 at Laurencekirk Junction. And I've said here that there have been plans in place for this for over 15 years. It's an incredibly dangerous junction. This would just make the junction so much more accessible, but also safer for everybody, including the pedestrians who do actually cross the road there sometimes. And finally, going through this quite quickly, but last year the Scottish Youth Parliament did our consultation for our manifesto, which is in line with the next Scottish Parliament. And we spoke to over 5,000 young people from across Scotland about a range of different issues about what they want decision makers to focus on in the next Scottish Parliament. And one of the big ones was rural transport. We've got somebody here from Dundee who says, I live in a rural area and there are only 2 buses a day, one at 9 AM and one at 8 PM, meaning I'm very limited on my travel. Someone from Edinburgh who says, your postcode should not determine your success. And someone from West Dunbartonshire who says, paying £14 for 2 people to travel on the West Highland Line for only 2 stops is not fair or justifiable. And I think this shows that the scale of the issue when it comes to bus travel and accessing public transport in rural areas is a widespread issue across Scotland, not just for young people in the Mearns, although that's what I'm focused on. And so we have come up with the policy that Transport Scotland and public transport companies should ensure that public transport services are accessible and reliable for young people across Scotland, particularly those living in rural areas. A bit of a mouthful, but I think it is an important policy. I think often when I speak to politicians and people who have power over these decisions, they say to me that they care about what people think and they care about how their decisions affect young people, but that young people don't really engage with them whatsoever. And I would disagree with that. Maybe young people don't engage, but I think young people really do care. And I think they care about the things that happen in the community. But they aren't necessarily given that space. So that's what I'd ask you to take away.